Ever wondered how much it costs to live in the UK, especially in London? Well, let's delve into the nitty-gritty details of it all. Life in the UK does come with its fair share of expenses, and these can vary greatly depending on where in the country you choose to make your home. However, when we talk about the average cost of living, we're looking at key factors such as housing, transportation, food, and healthcare. Housing, as expected, is the biggest expense for most people. Whether you're renting or buying, prices can range from affordable to astronomical, particularly in London. Outside of the capital, you might find a one-bedroom flat for as little as £500 a month, but in London, you could be looking at upwards of £1,500 for the same space. Transportation is another significant factor. If you're using public transportation, a monthly pass for the tube in London will set you back around £150. For those with cars, petrol prices are consistently high across the country. Food costs, while varying based on personal preferences and dietary needs, can also add up. A single person might spend around £250 a month on groceries, not including dining out. And let's not forget about the cost of a good old British pint, which can range from £3 to £5 depending on where you are. Lastly, there's healthcare. While the National Health Service provides free healthcare at the point of service, prescription charges apply and can add up, especially for those with chronic conditions. So how does all this compare to the average income? Well, the average monthly salary in the UK is around £2,200. This means many people might find a significant portion of their income going towards these basic living costs. With the average monthly salary in the UK being around £2,200, it's clear that the cost of living can take a huge chunk out of your income. Housing, as you might expect, makes up a significant portion of living costs. It's a universal truth, but particularly in the United Kingdom, where property prices have been on a steady upward trajectory for decades. So let's dive into the nitty-gritty. On average, in the UK, the monthly rent for a one-bedroom flat in the city centre stands around £850. However, if you venture out to the suburbs, you can shave off about £200 from that figure. For those interested in buying, the average house price is around £250,000. But again, this varies greatly depending on location and property type. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room: London. The capital is infamous for its sky-high housing costs. Rent for a one-bedroom flat in the city centre is approximately £1,600 per month, nearly double the national average. If you're brave enough to consider buying, the average London home will set you back a staggering £480,000. To put things into perspective, let's compare these figures with other major cities in the UK. In Manchester, you'd pay around £750 for a one-bedroom flat in the city centre, while in Birmingham, it would cost around £700. For those looking to buy, the average house price in Manchester is around £170,000, while in Birmingham it's about £200,000. So the contrast is stark. London's housing costs, both for renters and buyers, are considerably higher than the rest of the country. It's a world-class city with world-class prices to match. But it's also a city that offers endless opportunities, a vibrant social scene, and an unmatched cultural landscape. So if you're planning to live in London, be prepared for the high housing costs. But also be ready to embrace the dynamic and diverse life that this incredible city offers. London, like any major city, is a place where you get what you pay for, and for many, the benefits far outweigh the costs. Next up, let's talk about transportation. Moving around in the UK, and particularly in London, comes with its own set of costs. Public transportation is a popular choice for many, especially in urban areas. A monthly travel card for unlimited travel in London can cost upwards of £150, depending on the zones covered. By comparison, the cost of similar public transport passes in cities like Manchester or Birmingham is significantly less. Owning a car in the UK also presents a different set of expenses. Aside from the initial cost of the vehicle, car owners must also account for insurance, fuel, and maintenance. In London, there's the additional congestion charge to consider, a daily fee for driving in the city centre during peak hours. So whether you're jumping on the tube or cruising down the motorway, getting around in the UK is a major factor in the cost of living. While public transportation in London is excellent, it's also one of the most expensive in the world. Food and drink are essential, but how much does it cost in the UK? Now let's delve into the culinary costs of this island nation. The price tag on your grocery shopping in the UK can vary widely depending on where you're shopping and what you're buying. On average, a person might spend around £60 to £80 a week on groceries. However, if you're in London, you might find yourself spending a bit more due to higher prices in the city. Moving on to dining out, the UK, and particularly London, boasts an impressive array of restaurants catering to diverse tastes. A meal at an inexpensive restaurant might set you back about £15, but if you're dining at a mid-range restaurant, you could be looking at around £50 for a 3-course meal for one. So, while you might enjoy the diverse food scene in London, it certainly comes with a price tag. Healthcare is another major factor to consider when looking at the cost of living. In the United Kingdom, the health system is primarily funded by the government through the National Health Service, known widely as the NHS. For the majority of residents, this means that healthcare is essentially free at the point of use. This includes everything from emergency treatments to routine checkups, and even many forms of medication. However, it's important to note that the term free can sometimes be a bit of a misnomer. The NHS is funded through general taxation, which means everyone contributes according to their means. So while you might not see a bill after a doctor's visit, you are contributing to the cost of healthcare through your taxes. On the other hand, there are also private healthcare options in the UK. These are typically used by individuals who prefer quicker access to specialists or more personalised care. Private healthcare, of course, comes with its own costs. Some people opt for private health insurance to help offset these costs, but premiums can be high, especially for comprehensive coverage. Comparing the two, the NHS offers a wide range of services to everyone, regardless of their ability to pay. It's a system that values accessibility and fairness. However, it's also a system that can be strained, with long waiting times for certain procedures and treatments. Private healthcare, meanwhile, can offer quicker and more personalised care, but at a cost that can be prohibitive for many. It's a system that values convenience and comfort, but may not be as accessible to everyone. So, while healthcare in the UK is generally affordable, private healthcare can add a significant amount to your living costs. So, what's the bottom line when it comes to living in the UK and especially in London? Well, let's revisit the main points we've discussed in this video. We started by delving into the real cost of living in the UK, and it's clear that one of the most significant expenses you'll encounter is housing. Whether you're renting or buying, prices are steep, particularly in London. The capital city has some of the highest property prices in the world, making it a challenging market to enter, even for those with a healthy income. Next, we tackled transportation. The UK boasts a robust public transport system, but it's not the most pocket-friendly. If you're based in London, you'll likely rely on the tube or buses, and those fares can add up. Owning a car in the city is even more costly when you factor in things like congestion charges, parking, and petrol. Food and drink are another considerable expense. Dining out in the UK, especially in London, can be costly, but even grocery shopping can be a bit of a shock to the wallet. The cost of everyday items is generally higher than in many other countries, so it's something to keep in mind when budgeting. Healthcare costs, meanwhile, are a bit of a mixed bag. If you're eligible for the National Health Service, many services are free, but there are charges for certain aspects of care. Private healthcare is an option if you can afford it, but it's certainly not cheap. To sum it up, living in the UK and London in particular comes with a high price tag. These costs need to be weighed against the average income in the UK, which can vary greatly depending on your profession and location. Living in the UK, and particularly in London, can be expensive, but with careful budgeting and planning, it can also be a rewarding and enriching experience. Remember, it's not just about the cost, but also about the quality of life, the culture, the opportunities, and the experiences that make living in the UK truly unique.